Awakening and Grand Rising. This will be my last post for the week before I prepare for this 999 portal tomorrow. But I wanted to share this because it's been heavy on my spirit. I want to dedicate this video to young trans femmes who are beginning this journey. But I feel like for those of you who are not even trans, you can resonate with this message. Trans means change. When we speak of the word change, we're speaking of a person's commitment to, ability to, capacity to change. And that change is going to look different on the countless examples there are of transness. I am so thankful for the internet. This has been a space for me to share my thoughts, for me to evolve, for me to grow, for me to learn from other people's examples. But the internet is not the only place for me to see examples that I could resonate with and that I may someday want to embody. And so in this video, I'm inviting all of my young trans femme sisters, siblings, who are on this journey of change to interrogate yourself before you begin to choose your possibility models, before you begin to choose the beings that you will gravitate towards and who you will ultimately mirror and reflect someday. Okay? And as you are observing possibility models, remember, this shit is bigger than Nino Brown. And when I say that, I mean the world is bigger than the internet. And a lot of times on the internet, we see examples who show us how the sausage looks when it's done, but they don't really care to belabor the process of how that sausage is made. Everything that glitters isn't gold. And if you knew the whole story, if you knew the cost of the oil in that alabaster box, if you knew the story behind the glory, would you still have the guts to go on that journey? And so that's why I say to you, my trans siblings, those of you who are beginning this journey, those of you who are embracing that divine feminine or that divine masculine inside of yourself, or those of you who are resting somewhere in the middle, as you're on this journey, interrogate yourself so that when you begin to gravitate towards or resonate with potential possibility models, you've done the shadow work, you've done the self-reflection, and you've done the spiritual grounding that you need to do, that when you come to the table, you can say, I'm not desperate for a seat at this table because I have the tools, I have the know-how, I have the integrity, I have the will, I have the resilience to prepare my own table, or to go over here and help set up a table with these people. I am not eager and hungry and starving to sit at a table where they're passing out poison. Again, everything that glitters isn't gold. And so be present. Be present for yourself. All of the non-binary, trans, and queer artists that you see online, at the end of the day, a huge number of them, a great number of them, are here for the game. They're here for the business aspect of social media. They're here to capitalize. They aren't trying to change the algorithm. They are learning the algorithm for the purpose of capitalizing off of the algorithm as it is. Now, some trans people, this is your calling. It is your calling to be cogs in this machine. It is your calling to accomplish great things within the system. It is your calling. And I am not here to diminish that. I am not here to put it down. But the problem for me becomes when you don't recognize the roles and the relationships of people who are not meant to be cogs. The ones who are meant to disrupt. The ones who are meant to usher in a new paradigm. The ones who are preparing for a shift. The ones who represent a season that is changing, an era that is ending. I lose respect for people who don't have the vision to see that. I say this to Christians all the time. I have space for you. But do you have space for me? I could sit up and listen to you talk about Jesus all day long. But when it's my turn to talk about Laylim Layler and wholeness, I want the same respect I gave you. Some of y'all act just like homophobic and transphobic men when it's time to talk about something that don't have nothing to do with Jesus, or when it's time to express a connection to a higher power that goes by another name than Jesus. In my belief and my faith, the divine has many names, many shapes, many forms. The divine is everything and nothing. And so if I have space to hear you, have space to hear me. And you will always know a tree by the fruit that it bears. And so sometimes you'll have beings in community that will think that they know everything. They will want to share, but they don't want to hear. I always kind of give a side eye to black people in general who say things like what Whoopi Goldberg told Monique, I could have schooled you. Or, like when I see black people in communities saying things like, oh, if I would have been around, I would have told them, you don't do that. You don't need to, you shouldn't have done that. I heard people saying that with Lil Nas. They wish they would have been around because they would have kept Lil Nas from doing that. Lil Nas doing what he did reminded us of how this world is. It keeps us from falling into delusion. It keeps us from being asleep. When we see how this system mishandles people for being vulnerable and being authentic and having a moment where they just not together, where they're just not on. They're not performing in the way that this machine wants them to perform. When we see how people are treated, our people are treated when they're being authentic and vulnerable, and they're just in a space that a lot of times this society don't have capacity for. We don't need somebody to tell them how to act and how to behave and to pull them in, because how are we ever going to realize change if everybody around here pretending and performing? If we don't have no warriors no soldiers that's really not afraid to go out there and be vulnerable and be transparent and be in pain and hurt so that we could see that things are wrong. This is why I have so much respect for homeless people. Not the kind that be crying and trying to manipulate you with tears. Please, I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry. I'm not putting it down. I'm not judging it. I would never want to have to experience that for myself personally. I would rather for just all the breath to leave my body than just to be crying and begging for food. But I definitely have a lot of respect for homeless people who, hey, I'm gonna survive. And through the winter, the cold, I have so much respect for the homeless people that survived COVID. The homeless people that survived Hurricane Katrina. The homeless people that survived 9/11. Every catastrophe, I have so much respect for them people. To me, they are the divine, the most radical thing you can be. Because a lot of us, we have housing, but this nation doesn't feel like home. It's a difference between being housed and feeling at home. And so when you take up this work, when you begin this journey of change, when you start looking for your possibility models, make sure that you have interrogated yourself so that you can know what type of being you want to follow after. Do you want to follow after someone who is going to teach you how to thrive in this game? Do you want to model after someone who is going to teach you how to work within the system as is? All of these, there's nothing wrong with any of this. But there are possibility models that are out there with machetes, clearing pathways, that are out there fighting tooth and nail to create more space for us to be more whole, for us to be more authentic, and for more grace to be shown when we're in a season of pain and suffering and we cannot perform in the ways in which we're expected to perform in society without having to be shunned, condemned, exiled, blackballed, or canceled. Yeah, some of us got a machete over here working on clearing these fields of grace, because our people need some of that sometime. Hey, man, hey, woman. The healers, the space holders, the caregivers, the nurturers. The revolution will not be televised. So some things you're just not going to see online. Because if you did, it would look like exploitation. And not all of us are here for fame. It's not it's not about exploiting for all of us. And so sometimes the persons that, the people that are doing the most, you can't see what they're doing because they're doing it without being exploitive. And this is why discernment is important. And you cannot have discernment without first interrogating yourself. I just want to say that to you as you are researching your possibility models, as you are looking for your role models and the beings that you want to embody. I want you to think about what their work speaks to. Is their work truly about liberation? Or is their work about having some modicum of success within the current confines, within the current society? and ask yourself, what do you want your legacy to be? What work are you leaving for the next generation? What standard are you setting for the next generation? If you plan on having young children that you're going to have to raise, I understand you got to do what you got to do. But for those of us who are not going to have children that we have to raise from childhood, I'm speaking to you. Because we need some of us to hold the line. Are you trying to work your way up into the ranks of the system? Or are you trying to put an end to this system? So no shame. It takes all kinds to make this world go around. Whatever you choose, it's valid. But don't you ever put down your sister or talk down on your sister who may be radical in a different way, who may just totally reject the system, but still is willing to give her last, their last, is still willing to hold space, still has capacity, still willing to show up, still willing to help out, still willing to lend a hand. Don't put them down. Don't come for their trauma and the scars that they've gained in doing this work if you don't want them to call you sellouts and coons. Won't start none. Won't be none. Don't send for me, and I won't come for you. Don't diminish your siblings because y'all are not on the same exact journey. As long as y'all can all meet at that water. My grandmother used to always tell me, what you eat ain't gonna make me shit. Okay? Okay? Respect their choices. Respect their path. Because when you are creating the Underground Railroad, you need people who are in place in society to hold space. And you also need people who are like ghosts. You need people who are like phantoms. You need people who don't have no footprint. People who are not connected to none of that. People who are not invested in this reality at all. You need all kinds to recreate new systems. And so think about that while you're on this journey. And as I said at the beginning of the video, first, interrogate yourself and your reason for embarking upon this journey. Now, if you just want to be a doll and you want to be dressed up and you want to be cute, then have at it, mama. It's your world. Do you, boo? But if this is a spiritual journey for you, you know this is a spiritual journey for you, and you resonate more with being a eunuch priestess than a doll, you resonate more with that, then I want you to play the whole tape when you are observing potential possibility models. Okay? All right? And whatever position you decide you want to play, or whatever part you decide you want to resonate with, or you want to follow up at, have respect for people that are not in your lane. Don't think that your lane is the elite, that you're above. No, mama. No, sir. No, sibling. You're just different. You have a different purpose. Amen, amen. Lelem leler. All right, I love y'all. I hope that message helped. Y'all take care and have a good one. And ears to 999, the 9 gate. I love y'all. Be well. Lelem leler nation, purple ones. Right.